Greetings and welcome to another video by Sir Mike the Hedge Knight. We have another new character in the game. It is Osha, the Wildling Guardian. She's a gold protector, traveled protector. Taking a look at her stats, this is pretty interesting. I will say she's a very different kind of protector. And you can tell right off the bat by looking at her stats, her attack, not that any of the stats are off the chart, but her attack is 53.3 and her defense is 34.3. I don't know if there's any protector in the game. I'd have to check that their attack is higher, even a little higher than their defense, much less this sort of disparity. So you'll see as we get into her skill set why that is. Your first thought is, wait, you're not a protector, you're a fighter, you're maybe a strategist or some kind of weird mender. It does, in a weird way, it does kind of make sense. Also, 145,000 hit points. So I think that's her best stat. Other than that, the total might of 179, stats in and of themselves doesn't look like a wildly overpowered champion yet, just a different kind of protector. Going into her active skill, fast speed skill, like that, Osha afflicts an enemy with 1 bleed, then strikes them for 150% attack physical damage for each bleed. Now remember, again, this is counterintuitive. We're like, wait, protectors, attack is a bad skill for them. Nope, attack is her best attribute, her best, her better attribute between attack and defense. So 150% per bleed. Bleed stacks up to 3 times. If you've got 3 bleed on someone, this fast speed skill will do 450% attack physical damage. Her attack breaks 50,000. That's with no gear and a fast speed. Very, very strong single target attack, especially again for a protector. She then gains a 200% dodge buff and grants all allies stealth for 3 turns. So let's hit the pause button here. Why do I keep saying she's a different type of protector? Most protectors, we're thinking about Briennes and Dunks and Grey Worms and Neds and taunt and high defense and dunk with his blocks. Osha is protecting people by keeping them out of harm's way. Like when you're driving, is it better to survive an accident or avoid the accident altogether? Osha is the small car with good traction low to the ground that avoids the accident altogether. That's the way I'm looking at it. 200% now 200% dodge. You're saying, why do I need 200%? I can't double dodge. That doesn't make any sense. Now I have seen some people on the official Discord saying it's broken, it's not working. I had a character with 160% extra, dodge buff, but they're still getting hit. Honestly, I really wish they would disclose how things work in the game so that we would understand, one, why you would ever need more than a 200%. Remember, you start with 100% dodge, and enemies start with 100% accuracy. I think those are the opposites. Accuracy, it's either a hit chance or accuracy. One of them goes against dodge, one of them goes against tenacity. So, A minus B, no, if you have 100% accuracy, 100% dodge, no harm, no foul, no one's dodging anything. Got it. You would think if you add 10% dodge, so if you're at 110 dodge and an enemy has 100% accuracy, that would lead you, the delta there is 10% to dodge. You would dodge 10% of attacks. And again, not basic attacks, not gem damage, just skill damage. That would be the common thought of as to how it works. Therefore, if I had a 100% dodge buff, my dodge would go from 100 to 200. If an enemy's accuracy remained at 100%, the delta is 100%, I should dodge everything. So why in the world would I ever need 200? And that being said, people are on Discord saying, I'm getting hit. My dodge is through the roof and I'm getting hit. Even worse, the enemy's accuracy is being reduced, which we'll see momentarily, below 100%. So their accuracy is down, my dodge is up, and I'm still getting hit. Is it broken? Is it just that we don't really understand how they're doing the calculation? Is it on some sort of like a bell curve or something? Like the first 50% of dodge is true, and then like diminishing returns. Is it capped, like durability and power, capped at 90? I'm just not sure. But that being said, without knowing fully how it works, one would think that a 200% dodge buff for 3 turns means she will dodge any skills aimed at her and grants all allies stealth for 3 turns. So this is what I was talking about keeping people out of harm's way. So It's not all teammates, it's all allies. They're all being stealth. Osha is not being stealth. So the only one that you can target is Osha, but she has a 200% dodge buff. So it's not quite a taunt, but it's kind of like a taunt. If you can't target anybody else and you can only target Osha and she has this dodge buff, because again, remember, her defense is very, very low. So if you land a hit on her, she sounds like she's going to be incredibly squishy, but she's going to be very, very hard to hit, and she'll be your only option if all the allies are in stealth. Moving on to her leadership ability, and again, same issue here, but look at these gaudy numbers. Now this is all, not all allies, all team members start the battle with a with a 200% dodge buff. So they're like the Flash. You just you can't hit them. All team members start the battle with a 200% dodge buff for 6 turns. Now, 6 turns, how many teams are getting their skills off within the first few turns? Obviously, the greens. So this is crippling against the greens, I would imagine. Other fast teams, now with the revamp, we're seeing even more Free Cities hybrids with Drogo and his iconic and all those good things. With the 35% stamina cost reduction and a bunch of fast feed skill, Drogo's getting his skill off within the first 6 turns. Probably a lot of other Free Cities people are getting there, possibly Blue Danny, and there are others. So, but it's only the first 6. So if you're a gem damage based team, which again, all factions are now gem damage, the Baratheons still have a little bit of an edge because some of their skills and traits and all that give you boosts to gem damage. So they sort of were stripped of their identity, but you can make the argument that they're still the best gem damage faction in the game. So gem damage still works. Defensively, those convert to basic attacks. A lot of teams do a lot of damage with skills. The question is, are they doing skills in the first 6 turns? It sounds like this could be extremely strong. And that's just where it starts. When a bleeding enemy is defeated by any team member's skill, afflict a random enemy with 3 bleed. Bleed stacks up to 3. Then Osha strikes each bleeding enemy for 200% attack. Remember, attack is her best attribute. Physical damage. This is a leadership ability and a half. And I can't say it enough. If it's working properly, or at least properly in the way we would interpret it, I guess being simpletons, 200% dodge sounds like you can't hit me, right? I mean, unless I'm missing something. That's the way I interpret it. If they came out and had some weird explanation and they used some kind of advanced calculus and shake a magic 8-ball to determine it, it sounds to me like 200% dodge means skills shouldn't hit you for 6 turns, which is insane. Now bleed has generally been like the niche of the Boltons. The Boltons were not given a dual faction character. Osha is not dual faction, so that's a little bit disappointing. She is a free folk. Would have liked to have seen free folk Stark. Perhaps they don't want to have a free folk Stark because they're afraid of some of the combos. But she's not a Bolton. In fact, she tries to kill Ramsay in the show, and then Ramsay kills her. So she's definitely not a Bolton. But it sounds like you'd want to pair her with other members of the team that can do bleed. Not only will she pass bleed like the Dreadfort Flare, she will also do a very large amount of damage, and that's after you kill someone. So you kill someone, you throw in 3 bleed, and then whack, Osha comes in and drives her dagger right through him. So a lot of damage. Moving on to her passive skill, if a team member's skill, again, team member, not ally, team member skill afflicts an enemy with bleed, like Osha does, or any of her allies. Osha inflicts that enemy with a 40% accuracy debuff for 3 turns. And this is what I was talking about before when someone said their Osha had like plus, or one of their teammates had plus 160% dodge, and the enemy had negative 40% accuracy, and they were still getting hit. So, can't put that disclaimer in enough. I guess it's either working as intended and we don't understand the mechanics, or it's broken. So, and that's the risk when you have a new character that you want to dump your gold or money on to bring them in. They seem great, but if you ran out and bought a bunch of Osha and you got her to level 350 and she's laying this dodge on and people are still getting hit, you can be pretty upset. So it's really in Zynga's best interest you don't have to show the exact formula that's going to overwhelm people, but you might want to explain how these things work. If they're working as intended, if they're broken, fix it. Don't release broken characters. Stop with releasing broken stuff, right? They broke the hell out of the game with the faction revamp. We're all aware of this, right? We're still waiting on an Ario fix, by the way. It's only been almost 3 weeks. I mean, they keep saying it's coming. Meanwhile, it's ripping alliances apart. If you go to the general Discord, you see every other day someone else is posting about The problem is that it's given them. And it's just embarrassing. So you got a new character. Can you or new iconics like with Beric, which was also broken. Stannis' iconic was broken when it came out. Can you test these things before you roll them out? Because I got to tell you, if I was a whale and I spent a few $100s getting Osha and this dodge thing wasn't living up to like if this dodge doesn't work, this character is garbage. Let's face it. Bleed is not one of the better attributes in the game. It's just not because it runs out and it runs out quickly. So all these other things, oh, she'll hit someone with bleed if you defeat. It's like you put bleed on now. The clock is on. You're on the clock. You got to kill them within 3 turns. You got to make sure things are working properly before people spend all this money on because this is how you alienate your player base. And if it's working as intended, at this point, it's time to pull back the curtain and show us how these things work so that we can understand, 200% dodge equates to roughly a 83% chance of dodge. Okay, I'm going to get hit 1 out of 6. Fine. I can live with that, but explain to me why 200% in your mind, Zynga, translates to 83. So let's figure that part out. But she afflicts an enemy with bleed, reduces their accuracy. So in theory, their accuracy debuff should mean that they're going to hit a little bit less as well. When a team member dodges an enemy ability, Osha gains 20% stamina. She's already fast speed skill. Her leadership ability puts on this huge dodge. Her skill puts dodge on herself, stealths everyone else. So the enemy, if you're on offense, the enemy AI, they're not going to know any better. They're just going to fire off those skills. Single target attacks against Osha. She's going to dodge everything, gain stamina, keep firing off her ability, keep gaining dodge, extend the stealth of her allies. It sounds like it could be a very, very powerful combination. So overall, what do we think of Osha? I think you could tell I'm mixed. Sounds like she could be a fantastic character if we understand how dodge works, how the accuracy debuff works, and if it's working, as intended, or if it's currently not, that it is going to be fixed. Sounds like she could be. And what I like the most about Osha is she is such a different type of protector. She is the atypical protector with the low defense and just too quick to hit, slippery, and very thematic with the show. She was an aggressive. You don't think of her as a protector, but she did. She protected Bran. She protected Rickon. She was. I thought of her more as a fighter, but like I said before, best way to avoid damage is not to take damage at all. Get out of the way, dodge, stealth, things of that nature. So I love it thematically. Love the potential this character has. Think that she's got to be on a team with some bleed. Now, with the faction revamp, you don't have to have 5 members of a faction, so you can mix her in with a couple of Boltons. You can either make a Free Folk team that has a couple Boltons on it. You can make a Bolton team that has Osha on it. Would have liked her to have been some sort of dual faction, at least with the Starks, even though they're not known for bleed. But the one of the few things that's good about the faction revamp is, which was their intention, was we felt people were compelled to have 5 members of the same faction, and that's now out the window. Now you get 3 members. So if you're not going for a dual faction team, you say, you could not care what faction Osha is. I can mix her in with anyone that does bleed. You could find a use for her. Sounds like she could be a pretty interesting character to have, and also a very annoying character to go against. What's surprising, and again, maybe because she's broken or not working as we thought, would be intended, I'm not seeing her in Raid. I don't see her. All the other new characters that came out recently, going as far back as Night King, same day or the day after, saw a whole bunch of level 350 Night Kings. Bran, same thing. Dunk, let's not even talk about that. Dunk is everywhere. Dunk is, you think the guy is clones. Dunk is just absolutely all over the place. Jace, which, took a little bit of doing. I think it took people a little bit to warm up to Jace, but Jace, necessary for black teams, black fire teams, type of thing to get that fury up. So Jace, starting to see a ton of Jace. Egg, not as much as Dunk, but people that had Dunk wanted Egg because they work so well together. Osha? It's been a week and a half. Why don't I see Osha? And I posted that on the general Discord, and someone said, "Oh, no. A bunch of people have Osha. they're just not using her because she's no good. Well, if she's no good, why'd you buy her? I mean, why would even if money is not an issue to you, why would you spend money on a character that you have no intention of using? Are you a collector of pixels? Like, I don't understand that mentality. I can't understand it. But anyway, that is my feeling on Osha. Love that she's different. Comment below. Let me know what you think about Osha, or what you know about this dodge versus accuracy, how this works. Am I not understanding something? Again, if I'm the simpleton here, I'll openly admit it. If this is an obvious thing, why a 200% dodge buff person still gets hit, then please explain to me, and I will be the first to admit that, stupid me, I didn't understand. Something doesn't sound like it's right. Comment below, let me know what you think about Osha, and we will see you soon.